Hi, my name is Asif, and today we'll be discussing about reading in IELTS test. Now, of course, today we'll be talking about some of the aspects of reading test, especially how to find a list of headings and how to find some answers for these sort of fill in the blanks type of questions where we might need to find information from certain paragraphs. Now, list of headings often is considered to be one of those problematic question types where it might take a little time to actually find the answers. Now, the best thing about this particular question type in the IELTS test is the fact that they already tell you where to look for the answers. So for example, it says these are the list of headings. So these are the headings that we need to match with these particular paragraphs. So the example that we have here, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 paragraphs, and we have about 11 headings that we need to match with these 9 paragraphs. Now, let's get started and try to find out exactly what or which heading fits best. Now let's start with section A, or the paragraph A. So here it says, why not eat insects? So asked British entomologist Vincent M. Holt in the title of his 1885 treatise on the benefit of what the named entomophagy, the consumption of insects and similar creatures as a food source. The prospect of eating dishes such as wireworms or wireworm sauce and slug soup failed to garner favor amongst those in the sloughy proper Victorian social milieu of his time, however, and Holt's visionary ideas were considered at best eccentric and at worst an offense to every refined palate. Now, reading this much, it's pretty evident that this particular question is about, let's say, or this particular paragraph, he's trying to mention about this person Holt was trying to show or bring a new let's say he was trying to give a new kind of experience, or he was trying to suggest a new experience. Now, because we understand that particular concept from that passage, we can go through some of the lists that we have here, or some of the headings that we have here. So for example, we can say a historical delicacy. Well, sounds close, but it's not it, because he was trying to introduce something new, right? So he was trying to influence, or he was trying to show people, tell people something new about something new, which is eating insects. Now, out of all of these, I think the closest that we can get is a cultural pioneer, because the word pioneer basically means someone who starts something new, right? So I think it is safe to say that we can match this with this. So the answer for section A is number 6. And so if you read the whole paragraph, you should get a good idea to kind of like figure out what can be the answer, or what the whole paragraph is talking about. Now, the trick here is to understand what is the main idea of the paragraph. Now, it is not always a necessity that you'll have to read the whole paragraph. You can read the first couple of lines in the paragraph, or the last couple of lines. Now, the way it works is that you see, when we learn to write paragraphs, we are taught to write something called a topic sentence right at the beginning. And the topic sentence, what it does is, topic sentence is supposed to explain or introduce the idea, what the paragraph is going to talk about, or which idea the paragraph is going to explore. Right, so the same rule applies here technically. So the first one or two lines of the paragraph and the last one or two lines in the paragraph should kind of like tell you exactly what the idea is, and also tell you a summary of the paragraph. So it is not a necessity that you need to read the whole paragraph, but again, if you want to read the whole paragraph, absolutely go for it. So let's try section B. Now, in this paragraph, it says, it has taken nearly 150 years, but an eclectic Western-driven movement has finally mounted around the entomophagic cause. In Los Angeles and other cosmopolitan Western cities, insects have been caught up in the endless pursuit of novel and authentic delicacies. So in this particular paragraph, we can kind of like see the fact that it is the insects which work as delicacy or delicacies, their popularity is kind of like growing, or they have been accepted into the mainstream, right? So we are kind of looking for an option or a list of heading where it says kind of like a growth in popularity or acceptance in mainstream. So again, going through here, we can see that number 9 says growing popularity. So I think this goes perfectly well, something that the idea that we summarized from understanding the particular lines, and we can safely say that yes, we have matched this with this particular paragraph. Now, let's go to number C. And for C, in this paragraph, we can see that eating insects is not a new phenomenon. In fact, insects and other such creatures are already eaten in 80% of the world's countries, prepared in customary dishes ranging from deep-fried tarantulas in Cambodia to bowls of baby bees in China. Now, so in this particular paragraph, we can see the fact that it's not exactly the fact that it is not new. I mean, we are not looking at something. We are not looking at something which is new, or it is not something that only the West has discovered only a few years ago. In fact, it has been going on for a long time. Now, let's keep on reading. So with the specialist knowledge that the Western companies and organizations can bring to the table, however, these hand-prepared delicacies have the potential to be produced on a large scale enough to lower costs and open up mass markets. Now, again, in the next line, we can see that it is not only talking about tradition, or it is not only talking about past let's say traditions or practices, but also it's talking about the production in the modern era, which is saying that Western companies and organizations can bring to the table. So the technology, especially, so or the specialist knowledge. So there is something about the West and technology, or the modern technology of the West, and then they're talking about the traditions that they followed in China or in Cambodia. So this is a kind of a mix of tradition and technology. So again, we can go and look for something similar of that idea. So from here we can kind of like figure out like number 5, that tradition meets technology. So here this would be a perfect let's say heading for this particular paragraph, because the paragraph talks about traditions and also how technology can help this production become better and much more quicker and cheaper as well. So here we can safely say that, or we can pretty quickly say that this for section C, or paragraph C, 5 is the answer. Now let's go to section E, or sorry, section D. So insects certainly possess some key advantages over traditional Western meat sources. According to the research findings from Professor Arnold van Huys, a Dutch entomologist, I'm really sorry about the name if I mispronounce it, breeding insects results in far fewer noxious byproducts. So right in the first one or two lines, we can understand, or it is pretty evident that they're talking about something related to the environment, because it talks about noxious byproducts. So because they're talking about something related to the environment, right? So now let's move on. Let's read on. So insects produce less ammonia than pig and poultry farming, 10 times less methane than livestock, and 300 times less nitrous oxide. Who is also notes that insects, being cold-blooded creatures, can convert food to protein at a rate far superior to that of cows, since the latter exhaust much of their energy just keeping themselves warm. So again, we kind of know that, or we kind of like be sure about the fact, become sure that they are talking about something related to the environment. In this paragraph, the writer is trying to show that how insects are better, environmentally better than any other formal sources of meat, let's say, for example. So because it says Western meat. So I think here we can find out something related to that, which is like, environment friendly or something like that. So here we can see that it says environmentally friendly production. So that is a good fit for section D. Now let's move on to F, and in this paragraph F, mostly they say, then of course there are the commercial gains, as FAO, which is the forestry manager Patrick Durst, notes. In developing countries, many rural people and traditional forest dwellers have remarkable knowledge about managing insect populations to produce food. Until now, they have only used this knowledge to meet their own subsistence need. Now, in this particular paragraph, so in the first couple of lines, as we can see that he's saying that there are lots of places, especially in developing countries, the rural people, they already know how to manage these populations and of the insects. They know how to meet their needs, or how they can use them in their food to sustain themselves, own subsistence needs. But Dust believes that with the adoption of modern technology and improved promotional methods, opportunities to expand the market to new consumers will flourish. This could provide a crucial step into the global economic arena for those primarily rural, impoverished populations who have been excluded from the area of manufacturing large-scale agriculture. Now, of course, here in the later part of the paragraph, he's talking about that there are better opportunities to make this market even better, right? So here we can say that there are different ways in which if the modern technology comes to this, or if the modern technology is introduced to these people, then they can produce more. Also, this could provide a crucial step in the global economic arena for those primarily rural, impoverished, that has been excluded. So because this is talking about some sort of economic benefits, as it says economic arena, so we need to look at some options or some headings which talk about production, or which talks about economic benefits, or something related to those words. Now, of course, here we can see that the poor may benefit. Now, of course, it doesn't really say economic, but we can see here that these people will be helpful, the poor people especially, because it says that the rural people will be helped most. Well, the help is going to be economic kind, but they will benefit. So I think it is safe to say that we can use the poor may benefit for section F. Sorry, I was reading section F. So now I think I hope that you kind of like understand how we are going about doing this. So we are reading the first couple of lines, and then we are trying to figure out an idea, and then we are reading the rest of the paragraph to kind of get more understanding or get more information about that idea. And then finally, once we have the overall idea of the paragraph, we are trying to figure out one or two keywords as to what that paragraph is talking about, or what's the main idea of that particular paragraph. And then using those keywords, we are trying to locate some similar kind of answers for that a particular questions. So now that I have shown some of the ways, or I have shown you how we do this practically, now I'd like you to pause this video and try the questions that we have left. So we have section E, we have section G, and we have section H. So basically it's this paragraph, and this paragraph. So I want you to try and try to identify which of these headings do you think matches the most, and let's come back once you're finished. All right, so I hope you were able to solve or able to find the answers. Now, here are the answers. So for section E, or paragraph E, the answer is 10, a healthy choice. For section G, or paragraph G, the answer is 7, and which is Western practices harm locals. And then finally for section H, the answer is 3, which is presentation is key to changing attitudes. Now, let's look at the answers one by one. So section E says, although insects are sometimes perceived by Westerners as unhygienic or disease-ridden, they are a reliable option in light of recent epidemics. As Holt pointed out many years ago, insects are decidedly more particular in their feeding than ourselves. So here in the first line, we can see that there is a contrast being created, that although insects are sometimes perceived by Westerners as unhygienic. So although Westerners think that insects are unhygienic, unhealthy, they are not that bad. In fact, they are not that unhygienic, or in fact they are quite hygienic. So in that sense, we can see that they're talking about some sort of cleanliness, and here we have something related to that, which is a healthy choice. So again, we can kind of guess, or we can kind of figure out exactly what that particular paragraph is talking about just by reading the first one or two lines. Now, of course, we can read the paragraph further on and try and get more information about that particular paragraph. Now, in this case, the first paragraph gave me enough amount of information to make my choice. Now, let's go to paragraph or section G, which says, which is number 7, which is the Western practices harm locals. So nevertheless, much stands in the way of entomographic or entomophagic movement. One problem is the damage that has been caused and continues to be caused by Western organizations prepared to kill off grasshoppers and locusts, complete fruit proteins, in favor of preserving the incomplete protein crop of millet, wheat, barley, and maize. Now, again, here the interesting topic is harm that has been caused, or the damage that has been caused by the Western practices, so Western organizations. Now, again, here we find that it is talking about Western practices or Western organizations causing some sort of harm, or they're doing something bad. So here, Western practices harm locals. So again, we can take a good we can understand a good bit about the paragraph just by reading the first 1 or 2 lines. So it gave me enough to make my choice. Again, you can, of course, you can read the whole paragraph to get more detailed knowledge about that particular paragraph. Finally, in section H, a safety risk. Section H says presentation is key to changing attitudes. So section H says a further issue is the persistent fear many Westerners still have about eating insects. The problem is the ick factor. The eyes, the wings, the legs. So this person has said that. Now, it's not as simple as hiding it in a bug nugget. People won't accept it beyond the novelty. When you think of a chicken, you think of a chicken breast, not the eyes, wings, and beak. For Marcel Dick, the key lies in camouflaging the insect, and people are eating insects all the insects at all. So insect flour is one of his proposition, as it's changing the language of insect cuisine. So here again, reading these couple of lines, we can see that they're talking about the way insects can be made much more eatable or edible, let's say. This is by changing the presentation, changing the way it looks, changing the way it is presented to people, the way they eat it. So like chicken, it's presented, but we don't think about all of these eyes and wings. So here they're talking about some sort of a presentation. So here you can see that presentation is key to changing attitudes towards the actual let's say insects. So there you go. So we have the list of headings, and we found out exactly which particular paragraph might need, or which particular paragraph fits which headline. Now also here we have a bunch of notes that we need to complete. Now here in this case we can call it fill in the blanks. Often people call it notes completion, summary completion, different names. Now basically this is like notes completion. We call them notes completion. So again, this is not that difficult. The trick here is to actually identify keywords and locate those keywords. Now in our case, the type of question that we have, it makes it a lot easier. So you see, generally when we identify or try to identify keywords, it is better that you identify something unique that's easier to identify, like dates, names, nouns, noun phrases basically. So here we have explicitly we have been given some names. So for example, Van Huis, we read about him. We have Durst, we have Dunkel. So if we can locate these names, it becomes much more easier for us to actually locate where the information is actually is. Now, because it makes it easier for us to find, now we can just scan the whole passage. We don't even need to read the whole passage. We can just scan for that particular word. Now if we go through each and every single paragraph, wherever we come across this word Van Huis, we can stop there and we can start looking at the answers. So the question says, insects are cleaner and do not release any harmful gases. Insects use food intake economically in production. So food intake economically in the production of protein, as the waste less what. So we just read a little while ago Professor Arnold van Huys, Dutch entomologist. So here, I think because the name is here, we most likely will get the answer here. So let's read, and says insect produces less ammonia than pig and poultry farming, 10 times less methane as livestock, and 300 times less nitrous oxide. Huys also notes that insects, being cold-blooded creatures, can convert food to protein at a rate far superior to that of cows, since the latter exhaust much of their energy just keeping themselves warm. So there you go. I think the answer most likely is energy. Why is that? Because here we are talking about the food intake or the production of protein. Now here also it's saying the same thing. So cows or other cattle can convert food to protein at a rate far superior to cows. Insects can produce protein far superior to that of cows. Cows do it slow. Why? Because the cows use a lot of their energy to keep themselves warm, but insects, they produce a lot of protein, or they produce the rate of production of protein for insects is much quicker because they use less energy. So here we can write, or the answer we can write to be energy. So there you go. So the answer is energy. Now the next question that we have is about dust. So again, I think we have read about dirt somewhere here, dust. So let's just go below. As we know, the answers most likely might be below, or we can just scan for the word. So again, looking through the passage here, we find the word dust. So the answer might be somewhere here. So until now, they have only used this knowledge to meet their own subsistence needs. But Durst believes that the adoption of modern technology and improved promotional methods and can expand the market to new consumers. So here the question says traditional knowledge could be combined with modern methods for mass production instead of just covering dash. So again, so we see that improved promotional quality. So of course it says new consumers will flourish, but here it says instead of just covering what? So mass production. If there is a mass production, then it's going to reach a lot of people. But now that there is no mass production, what are those people doing? They are just using that for their subsistence needs, right? So the question says traditional knowledge could be combined with modern methods for mass production instead of mass production. Modern technology can do mass production instead of subsistence needs, which means that they are just doing it for themselves. But I mean feeding for themselves. So subsistence needs. So there you go. That's the answer. So subsistence needs. Now finally we come to Dunkel. Oh sorry, we have one more gap here. So this could help dash people gain access to world markets. So here this could provide crucial step into global economic area for those primarily rural impoverished populations. So rural impoverished populations. So the people who are rural, the rural people or the people who are impoverished, they will get access to the global market. So in this case, our answer, well, of course, we can write one or two different ways here. So we can write rural people, or we can write impoverished. Impoverished. So we can write rural people or impoverished people can gain access to the global market. Right? Good. Now let's do it with Dunkel. So here, due to the increased dash, more children in Mali were suffering from dash. Now again, Dunkel, we can find Dunkel here. Now we need to find something has increased, and then due to that increase, children are suffering from some sort of disease or something they're suffering from. So as a part of the field work in Mali, Dunkel discovered that a protein deficiency syndrome called kwashiorkor, again I'm really sorry about the name, was increasing in incidents. Children in the area were suffering from area were once protected against this disease by a diet high in grasshoppers, but these had become unsafe to eat after pesticides use in the area increased. So increased. So we got similar keywords here. So what increased? So pesticides increased. So here we can safely say that pesticides pesticides. So there was an increase in pesticides due to increased pesticides. More children in Mali were suffering from something. So this name, or you can write protein deficiency. So that is what the children are suffering from, because they can't eat grasshoppers, and they are suffering due to the because they cannot eat grasshoppers, which used to provide them a lot of proteins. They can't get a lot of protein, and they're suffering from this protein deficiency. Or we can also write the name of the particular disease. And so there you go. That is how we can find the answers. So basically, for notes completion or fill in the blanks type of question, you basically find out the keyword, you scan for the keyword, and then you read in that general direction, identifying the other keywords. So I hope that this has helped, and if you can practice this particular method for your reading test, I hope that it'll help you become better in finding the answers. And the more you practice, the more efficient you become at finding the answers much more quickly. Now, of course, this can take you a bit of a time at the beginning, but once you have practiced enough, I think you will become much more efficient at finding the answers, and much quicker at finding the answers. So I think I hope that this has helped, and all the best for your practice in the future. Bye-bye.